Part 1. Arrival and Misunderstanding. The starship Aurora cut through the black velvet of space, its sleek silver hull glinting under distant stars. Inside, Captain Jason Hale leaned back in his chair, rubbing his tired eyes. Months of negotiations, travel, and interstellar paperwork had left him bone-weary. Jason was a human, a representative of Earth and its fledgling interstellar alliance. He had been chosen for his courage, adaptability, and most importantly, his ability to think quickly under pressure. That reputation would soon be tested in ways he could never imagine. "Captain Hale, we are approaching the Thalorian vessel Zephora," reported Lieutenant Mira Patel, her voice calm but tinged with excitement. She was the communications officer, a young human with remarkable skill in alien linguistics. "Docking protocols initiated." Jason nodded, not taking his eyes off the shimmering hull that loomed closer. The Thalorians were known across several sectors as a highly ritualistic species, whose customs were intricate, to say the least. Their society revolved around ceremonies, symbolism, and gestures that humans often failed to interpret correctly. "Remember," Jason said, standing and stretching his long legs, "we are here to negotiate technology trade. Nothing else. No mistakes, no cultural faux pas." "Understood, Captain," Mira replied, suppressing a grin. The docking clamps clicked, and the Aurora shuddered as it connected with the Zephora. Jason followed the crew to the airlock, mentally preparing himself for the first contact with the Thalorians. Inside the Thalorian vessel, everything was alien, yet strangely elegant. The walls shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, and the floors seemed to respond subtly to each step. Jason could feel the soft vibrations under his boots as if the ship itself were alive. He had been given quarters that were far more luxurious than anything he'd experienced on Earth. Plush sleeping mats, adaptive lighting, and a temperature system that adjusted perfectly to human comfort. Exhaustion finally caught up to him. "I'll just rest a bit," he muttered, undressing and slipping under the soft covers. With a sigh, he let himself drift into sleep, unaware that the ship's monitoring system was active, even in private quarters. Meanwhile, in the control room, a group of Thalorians observed the humans' actions on their display screens. Their skin shimmered in soft colors, each hue representing emotion or intent. Their long limbs moved gracefully as they whispered among themselves. "What is this?" one of the Thalorians asked, its voice a series of melodic hums. The display showed Jason lying naked, completely relaxed. "It is a ritual," another replied, its skin flashing deep violet. "The human has offered himself. This is a proposal of eternal unity." The misunderstanding was immediate and complete. In Thalorian culture, sleeping naked in the presence of others or being witnessed while in private quarters was considered the ultimate gesture of trust, respect, and lifetime commitment. The aliens had no concept of human privacy or simple exhaustion. To them, Jason's behavior was deliberate, symbolic, and sacred. Jason slept soundly for hours, unaware that outside his room, a small delegation of Thalorian officials had gathered. They brought ceremonial gifts, glowing crystals, intricate robes, and bowls of rare spices meant for the union ritual. When Jason finally awoke, stretching and yawning, he blinked at the group surrounding him. His jaw dropped. Who are all of you?" he asked, scrambling to cover himself. The Thalorians bowed deeply, their voices harmonic and synchronized. "Honored human, we accept your offering." "The eternal bond begins." Jason's eyes widened. He waved his hands frantically. No offering. This is a mistake." But the aliens didn't understand his frantic English. They interpreted his gestures as part of the ritual. The more he struggled, the more they believed in his commitment. Lieutenant Patel appeared behind him, eyes wide. "Captain, maybe try calm gestures." They read body language more than words. Jason nodded, though it felt impossible. "Okay, calm. He raised his hands slowly. "I appreciate your hospitality." The Thalorian skin shimmered brighter, a signal of happiness. They began to chant softly, a melodious sound that made the walls hum. Jason realized he was now a part of an alien ceremony he didn't even agree to, naked in front of a room full of aliens. Over the next hour, Jason tried repeatedly to explain that he was not proposing, not offering, and certainly not intending any kind of union. Yet every human attempt at reasoning only reinforced the Thalorian's belief that his actions were deliberate and meaningful. In desperation, He tried humor. Look, if this is a ritual, can someone at least give me some clothes? The Thalorians didn't understand humor. One of them offered him a glowing robe, placing it gently over his shoulders. Jason sighed, realizing he had to play along for now. Still, he couldn't help but marvel at the aliens. They were graceful, intelligent, and remarkably observant. Each movement was precise, each decision made with thought. If humans could learn even half of their discipline, it would be remarkable. But Jason also knew that human strength lay in adaptability. They survived by thinking differently, acting unpredictably, and using ingenuity where others relied on tradition. Now it seemed, human ingenuity would be tested in ways he never imagined. Later, Jason was led to the main chamber, fully clothed in the ceremonial robe, though still feeling absurd. The room was vast, lined with bioluminescent columns, each pulsing softly. At the far end, a council of Thalorian elders awaited him. "You have chosen," the eldest said, its voice deep and melodic. "Your offering honors us. The union must be formalized." Jason took a deep breath. He realized he had two choices: resist completely and risk diplomatic disaster, or play along just enough to navigate the situation while trying to explain his true intent later. He chose the latter. "Honored council," he said carefully, bowing slightly, "I am willing to participate in your customs, but let us discuss trade, friendship, and understanding first." The council paused. Then slowly the elders nodded. In Thalorian culture, showing willingness to participate in rituals demonstrated respect and honor, even if the deeper meaning differed. Jason had unknowingly gained their favor. Back in his quarters, Jason collapsed onto his bed, exhausted in a new way. He had survived first contact without serious offense, but he knew that misunderstandings could spiral out of control. Tomorrow would bring more challenges: learning Thalorian customs, negotiating trade agreements, and navigating a culture that interpreted nakedness as the highest form of devotion. Yet, despite the absurdity, Jason felt a small thrill. Humans had survived on Earth by thinking differently, by using wit, courage, and determination. Here in deep space, surrounded by alien brilliance, humanity's ingenuity would shine even brighter. For now, though, all he wanted was sleep, and this time, fully clothed. The next morning, Captain Jason Hale awoke with a throbbing headache and a sinking feeling in his stomach. He had barely slept after the events of the previous night. His quarters, once a peaceful refuge, now felt like a stage for the galaxy's most confusing drama. Lieutenant Mira Patel stood outside his door, holding a datapad. "Captain," she said carefully, "the Thalorians are asking you to begin the preliminary rituals today. The council thinks your proposal must be acknowledged," Jason groaned. "Mira, I did not propose anything. I slept naked." "That's all?" Mira suppressed a chuckle. "I know, Captain. But to them, your sleeping habits are sacred. We need to go along with it, at least until we can explain." Jason rubbed his temples. Humans were flexible, adaptable, and clever. But he doubted anyone had prepared him for this level of cultural collision. He quickly, dressed in the ceremonial robe the Thalorians had given him, glowing, softly in colors that he assumed were respectful. Stepping into the corridor, he was greeted by a group of Thalorian aides, each bowing in a low, fluid motion. "Follow us," Honored One once said, its melodic voice soft but firm. Jason followed, trying to look dignified, though he felt like an actor in a play whose script he didn't understand. The corridors shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, their colors changing subtly with each step. The ship itself seemed alive, reacting to the emotions and movements of its inhabitants. They arrived at the ceremony chamber, a massive hall filled with Thalorians of all ranks. The room pulsed with soft light, and the air smelled faintly of spices and minerals. Jason's jaw dropped when he saw the array of ceremonial objects: crystals, bowls of glowing liquid, and intricate garments woven from metallic threads. The eldest Thalorian approached, its skin rippling in soft shades of green and violet. "Honored human, your offering honors our people. Today we begin the ritual of acknowledgement." Jason swallowed hard. "Ritual of... what now?" "Ritual of acknowledgement," the elder repeated, not understanding his tone. "Your presence confirms the bond." Jason forced a smile. "Right, the bond." Okay, he had no choice but to play along. Humans survive difficult situations by using creativity, humor, and quick thinking. Today, those traits would be tested like never before. The ritual began. Jason was guided through movements that looked like a strange combination of dance and martial art. Each gesture had meaning. Each posture symbolized intent. Every time he hesitated, the Thalorian's skin shimmered brighter, signaling approval. At one point, a Thalorian handed him a glowing crystal. "Place this in the center of the chamber," it instructed. Jason did so, but the crystal emitted a sudden pulse of light, bathing him in radiant energy. The Thalorians gasped in awe. "It responds to your presence," one whispered to another. Jason realized that the alien technology was somehow reacting to human biosignals. He tried not to panic, instinctively adjusting his stance to appear confident. Humans often thrived in unpredictable situations because they could improvise. This was one of those moments. After hours of ceremonial gestures, Jason was led to a large dining platform. A feast was laid out. Strange glowing fruits, liquids that shimmered like liquid light, and delicate pastries that seemed to float slightly above the plates. "Eat, honored one," said a Thalorian aide. "Partaking is necessary for the ritual." Jason picked up a glowing fruit and bit cautiously. It was sweet, almost like a cross between honey and melon, but with a faint tingling that made his tongue buzz. He smiled. "Not bad," he said aloud. The Thalorians' skins flickered in delight. They interpreted his comment as praise and approval. Every human action, no matter how small, seemed to carry immense weight in their culture. In the middle of the feast, Jason attempted to explain again. "Look, I'm honored by your respect, but I did not intend any proposal. I'm just here to discuss trade and friendship." The Thalorians blinked, if blinking could be called that, and their colors deepened. One elder moved closer, touching Jason's arm gently. "You honor us. Your words, your presence, it confirms the bond." Jason face-palmed internally. Humans were clever, but sometimes cleverness wasn't enough. He realized that direct denial only strengthened their belief in his intentions. He needed another approach. During a lull in the ceremony, Lieutenant Patel whispered, "Captain, try humor again. Maybe a joke will confuse them enough to buy time." Jason hesitated. Humor was tricky with humans, let alone with an alien species. But he nodded. "Okay. Let's see," he cleared his throat. "So, do all Thalorians start by thinking someone slept naked as a proposal?" The room went silent. Then the Thalorian next to him tilted its head, a subtle gesture. Jason realized they didn't get humor. But the confusion on their faces made the council lean in closer. He sighed. Humans could improvise, and sometimes that improvisation worked purely by accident. The alien's curiosity about human reactions bought him precious time. As the day wore on, Jason began to notice small things about Thalorian culture. They were intelligent, observant, and highly disciplined. Their rituals were not meaningless. They had deep symbolism, tracking loyalty, courage, and adaptability. Humans' unpredictable nature, when combined with empathy and quick thinking, seemed to impress them more than strict adherence to rules. This was humanity's strength. Where other species relied on rigid protocol, humans could improvise, adapt, and find solutions where none seemed to exist. Jason realized that his absurd predicament was turning into a demonstration of human capability. However, the challenges were far from over. News of the proposal had spread through the ship. Every Thalorian he encountered bowed deeply or offered gifts, assuming he had committed himself. Even routine meetings with the council turned into ceremonial acknowledgments. At one point, Jason was guided into a chamber filled with Thalorian scholars. They had charts, holograms, and complex symbols representing bonds and alliances. They wanted him to approve them as part of the ritual. Jason leaned back, taking a deep breath. "All right, humans survive difficult things. Let's do this strategically." He carefully reviewed the charts, nodding at points, asking questions about trade, navigation, and shared knowledge. The Thalorians interpreted every gesture as confirmation of the bond. By evening, Jason was exhausted. He had spent nearly 12 hours performing rituals, learning customs, eating strange foods, and navigating a minefield of cultural misunderstandings. Yet despite the absurdity, he began to see progress. Humans had survived worse on Earth, and in space their adaptability gave them an edge. Jason's calm under pressure, his humor, and his intelligence were gradually earning respect among the Thalorians. They didn't fully understand him, but they admired him. For humans, respect was earned not only through strength or technology, but through ingenuity, courage, and quick thinking. Jason realized that even a misunderstanding as ridiculous as sleeping naked could become an opportunity to demonstrate humanity's unique value. That night, Jason returned to his quarters, completely drained. He looked at the robe still glowing softly and shook his head. Humans survived the galaxy not by following the rules but by creating our own, he muttered. Mira Patel entered with a cup of steaming liquid.
Captain, you did well today.
The council is impressed. They want you to continue participating tomorrow. Jason groaned. More rituals? Yes, she said with a small smile. But the humans' way seems to inspire them. They see your adaptability as special. Jason stared at the ceiling, half amused, half exasperated. Great. Humans impress aliens by sleeping naked. That'll be a headline in the galactic news someday. Mira laughed softly. Maybe. Or maybe it's the start of something bigger. Humans are clever, Captain. You've already made them respect us. Jason nodded slowly, realizing she was right. Despite the ridiculous misunderstanding, the Thalorians were beginning to see humans not as naive newcomers, but as intelligent, resourceful beings worthy of trust and admiration. He lay down, finally closing his eyes, knowing tomorrow would bring more challenges, more rituals, and probably more absurd misunderstandings. But for now, he was certain of one thing. Humans could survive anything, no matter how alien, strange, or naked it seemed. And that, Jason thought with a wry smile, was exactly what made them remarkable.